Hello, my wonderful people on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram page. Today is Thursday, April 20th, 2023. We need to lift up the golden rule. Do to others as you have them do to you. In Luke chapter 6 and verse 31, Christ calls us to take actions of kindness, of agape love, concern, compassion, to make a difference in people's lives, to do good whenever we can do. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good is better, your better is best. Always helping, always striving, always making the world a better place. Now, as you listen to this video, you'll see how that white homeowner, how he's radicalized, where he got his views from, according to his ex-wife and his 2 grandchildren. And so we must actively have commercials that lift up the humanity of Black people and all people, especially people of color. I say Black people specifically because of the dehumanization of people of color, of Black people specifically. There's one race, folks. It's the human race. And we have American neighborhoods. We're all human neighborhoods. Agape love, found in Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. The pastor messed up, didn't help the person. The deacon didn't help the person. Samaritan, who was despised in that day, showed compassion, concern, took actions of agape love to help that person who fell among the thieves. And Christ said that was the person, right? To go and do likewise, right? Be like him. Be like that person. That's the person we need to be like. Go, do likewise. Help people. Make life a better place for all people everywhere.
The things that has to strike you when you look at so many of these victims, they were young. Kaylin Gillis was 20, Peyton Washington 18, Ralph Yarl 16, the boy shot in Philadelphia 15, the girl in North Carolina was 6. I want to play a little more about what happened from our NBC affiliate in Charlotte, WCNC.
Ashley Hildebrand says her husband and 6-year-old daughter were the 2 people shot. Hildebrand was grazed by a bullet.
It was very scary. My daughter actually got to come home late last night. She just had a bullet fragment in her cheek. Still scary. But my husband, he's still in the hospital. He's in trauma. I'm doing the best I can. I just wish they'd catch this guy.
Jonathan Robertson says he had just taken his kids inside when the shots rang out at a home feet away.
As soon as I saw him coming out shooting, I was hollering at everybody to get down and get inside.
He says this all stemmed from kids playing and a basketball rolling into the suspect's yard.
That's it, little kid playing basketball. We've said it before, Eddie, this is a generation that's going to grow up never knowing anything but these relentless day after day after day shootings, drills in their schools. How's this going to affect them?
Well, they've grown up with cascading crises, one after the other. And they've concluded, many of them, at least my students have, many of them, that our society is broken. And that they are, and in drawing that conclusion, Chris, they are open to reaching for different languages, new ways of imagining our being together. I think one of the interesting things that we have to kind of grapple with in this moment is that guns added to the reality that we're not well, that America is broken. We're not well. You can't come through what we've been through. And I'm talking about 1 million plus dead of COVID. I'm talking about all of the kind of intense partisan bitterness that has defined our lives for well over a decade now. You can't come through this and be all right. And then you add guns to that and you get this. Just look at that little baby asking the question, why would you shoot a child's daddy? Or think about those 9-year-olds in Tennessee, or think about Louisville. I mean, we could just go down the line. I'm going to Buffalo this weekend, Chris, this weekend, for a gala to honor Miss Whitaker, who was massacred in Buffalo. I mean, this is what we're dealing with.
Well, Maggie, now I have to ask you to take us to Missouri. We finally saw Andrew Lester in court. He pleaded not guilty to the shooting of Ralph Yarl. What was his defense? Chris Chris, that is the perfect way to ask that question because, as you know, we've had people on social media saying, wait a minute, he's pleading not guilty. Is there a question as to who did this? And from what we know, the answer is no. Investigators, police, prosecutors, and according to court documents, Lester himself all say absolutely he shot 16-year-old Ralph Yarl twice Thursday night, but according to those court documents, it was a probable cause statement. The 84-year-old white homeowner says he did it because he thought the 16-year-old black Missouri boy was trying to break into his house. He says that Yarl, again, 16 years old there, his family said to pick up his two younger brothers, but just mistakenly went to the wrong home. Lester says that Ralph rang the doorbell, and then this is key. He says that he jiggled the door handle, and that's when Andrew Lester, the homeowner in this case, says that he believes someone was breaking in. He was, quote, scared to death. He opened the door and fired 2 shots. The family says Ralph was shot in the head and the arm, and he's basically recovering at home, miraculously having survived, but recovering at home from a traumatic brain injury and a cracked skull. So at the same time, we have this plea of not guilty yesterday. We also have family members of Andrew Lester speaking out overnight. His ex-wife telling the New York Times, unfortunately, this does not surprise her. They've been divorced since the 90s. They haven't talked in decades, but she says during their 14-year marriage, he was prone to fits of rage, and she told the Times he would smash things when he got angry. Also, 2 of Andrew Lester's grandsons talking to the Kansas City Star and the Independent. One telling the Kansas City Star, he says that his grandfather lives in what he called a 24-hour news cycle of fear and paranoia, and then talked about a lot of far-right conservative media outlets that sort of deliver a lot of rhetoric tied to things like standing your ground and the need to defend your home. One of the other grandsons telling the Independent, he says that his grandfather would say disparaging things, in his words, about black people, gay people, and immigrants. Unfortunately, both grandsons kind of echoing what the ex-wife of Andrew Lester said, that this unfortunately did not surprise them. And Chris, as you know, an update late yesterday, the Yarl family, the family of the 16-year-old boy, home recovering from these gunshot wounds, now pushing for a federal hate crime. Let this go by. A federal hate crime investigation. The Yarl family attorney saying that he was armed only that night with his black skin. Chris? So, Eddie, let me add one more component to this, and it comes to us via the Washington Post. I want to read it. Lester said the teenager was a black male approximately 6 feet tall, several inches off Yarl's actual height, according to the criminal complaint. Lester stated that it was the last thing he wanted to do, but he was scared to death due to the male's size. The article goes on to say, in multiple studies, people who were asked to judge the size of black people tended to see black men as bigger and stronger than they actually were and gave black children the attributes of adults. The result, researchers say, is that they're seen as more dangerous. I mean, 12-year-old Tamir Rice comes to mind, among many others. How do we, as a society, Eddie, address that? Because this 16-year-old kid did nothing but find himself a block away from where he wanted to go.
Right. So what do we do when hatred is combined with guns? What do we do when fear and grievance combine with guns? I mean, first of all, we have to remove guns from the deadly weapons from the equation. And then we have to address, in some ways, Chris, the corruption of the soul that's at the heart of this, right? Not only do we have the grandsons and the ex-wife describing the 84-year-old man, but I'm actually as well as horrified by the neighbors.
Yeah.
Here you have a 16-year-old baby knocking on doors, told to get on the ground, to put up his hands. That's a corruption of the heart that cuts to the center of the country. And so what do we do about that? We have to begin to understand more clearly, what is our conception of our community? What is the moral sense that binds you to me? If you can't see a human being in a child, if you can't see a child or a child, what does that say about you? We have to address the monstrosity that is our society at this moment, that's being evidenced every single day with these senseless murders.
Eddie Glaude, Maggie Vespa, thank you both so much for having this conversation.
If we had listened to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. 55 years ago and lifted up love, the brotherhood and sisterhood of all people everywhere, and he was listening to Jesus Christ, who said in Luke chapter 6 and verse 31 in the New International Version, do to others as you would have them do to you. This is positive. It means taking actions that will help other people. Okay? It's not a don't do this, don't do that. No, it's do. Be constructive, be positive, do. Move forward. Help other people just as you would want to be helped. That's Christ's words. And it's different than the negative. Thou shalt not do this, do that, do that. No. This is you go ahead and do all the good you can, whenever you can, as often as you can, whenever you can. And then we have the two greatest commandments in Matthew chapter 22, right? Love God, love your neighbors yourself, right? And you go to Luke chapter 10, verses 25, 37. Who's your neighbor? Good Samaritan parable. Pastor looked the other way, didn't help the person in need. The deacon went the other way, didn't help the person in need, right? Samaritan, despised in that day, saw the person, helped the person, had agape love, which means concern, compassion, took actions to make life better for that person, brought him to the hotel, gave out his Apple card, right? And said, look, take care of this person. When I come back, if there's any bill, I'll take care of it. Christ asks, lawyer, which one of these was neighbor? And lawyer says, well, that person, who helped and has some compassion. And Christ is like, yeah, go and do likewise. Do the same thing. You be like that person. That's what it means to be a neighbor. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from. There's one race, the human race, we're all human. And everyone on this planet and on this earth has right to the abundant life. Jesus said it in John 10:10, the second half. I am come that they may have life, they may have more abundantly. To the fullest, to the utmost, the best, the greatest. You know what that means? It means Matthew chapter 25. I was hungry to feed me. It means everyone has a right to food in the stomach, clothes on the back, shoes on the feet, shelter over the head, free college education like we used to have here in America. Free healthcare like you have in most of the industrialized world. Right? Which will help with business, by the way, okay? Entrepreneurship. The issue is inside. It's the heart. It's the mind. Let this mind being used also in Christ Jesus. A mind that says we are all human beings and everyone has a right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Everywhere, every place, positively, absolutely, period. Christ again said in Luke chapter 6 and verse 31, the golden rule, do to others as you would have them do to you. Treat people the same way that you want to be treated. Right? Go forth and treat people. You're blessed, be a blessing. What did Christ say? Much is given, much required. God has blessed you. If you're in America, you are the most blessed Christians in the entire world, and you have an obligation, a duty, to be a blessing to other people throughout the entire world. Thank you for being on my YouTube channel, TikTok channel, Instagram page. One race, human race, all human. Today is Thursday, April 20th, 2023. There's hope. Life will get better. Don't give up, don't give in, don't give out. Keep on moving forward. Press on. Move on. Go forward. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Everything will be all right because our hope is built on nothing less than Jesus Christ, his righteousness. God bless you. God keep you.